Hello, Hollow Rock Camp family. My name is Kurt Landerholm, and I have the honor and privilege of serving on the board of the camp and also in the capacity of chairman of the board. It's with great gratitude for each of you and appreciation for this technology that allows us to meet together from my home toward yours. In this time when the buzz phrase of social distancing is around us, surely we are experiencing social distancing now. I have reflected many times how when we left the camp back in July of 2019, little would anyone have expected that we would be facing a worldwide health pandemic and that the Hollow Rock Camp 2020 would not be in session on site. 2 years ago, following the request of our then camp president, Reverend Dr. Mel Truax, to step down as president of the camp, it was decided to form a task group to look into our constitution and structure and make any recommendations for changes. After a period of time of deep prayer and work by this task group, some preliminary ideas were put together, brought before the board, and perfected and eventually adopted as the new constitution for the camp and also a set of bylaws to help us operate the camp. Well, the Constitution made some changes and we added bylaws. The one thing that we did not change and will never change is the mission of Hollow Rock Camp, which is to provide a place where the gospel of full salvation can be preached with the emphasis on new birth and entire sanctification, as well as to provide a place for Christians to gather for worship and spiritual renewal. The Constitution spells out the basic structure of the camp organization, and the major change in the Constitution created a division of the duties of the camp president, creating really two positions, one being the camp president, who in simple terms would be the person who is responsible for the ministry of the camp. But the other is the position of the chairman of the board, who would function more in an administrative role for the camp. In simple terms, the role of the president is very much like we have been used to, although more behind the scenes, some of the work of administration is handled by the chairman of the board. After the recommendations were made and presented to the entire board and adopted, and in subsequent action, the board voted to create a set of officers for the camp. And those persons who were elected in March of 2019 were myself as board chairperson. Vice chair is the Reverend Dr. Brad Martin. Camp president is Reverend Stu Smith. Vice president is Reverend Ryan Bash. Our secretary is Dr. Bernie Reynolds. Financial secretary is Mr. Rob Ackerman, and the treasurer is Dr. Charles Leedy. In addition to these 7 people who serve as officers and are on the executive committee of the board are other board members, and I want to just introduce you to each one so that you know who the present board consists of. There is Aaron Allison, who also holds the position as Superintendent of Building and Grounds, Davis Barnhouse, Ron Buchanan, who serves as Superintendent of Housing and Accommodations, Dr. Lynn Campbell, who is our second newest elected board member, Phil Carney, who is a Building and Grounds person or sometimes known as a trustee, Dale Oyer, who serves as the Superintendent of Food Services, John Keenan, Doug Pickerton, who is also a building and grounds person or trustee, Winston Smith, Barb Swearingen, who is our newest board member, and Reverend Dr. Mel Truax, who serves as a board member emeritus. Recent members who we honor and remember and respect for their service with deep appreciation would be the late Reverend Otis Essex and the late Fred Kane. In addition, persons who have stepped down from the board are Reverend Chuck Lazier and Wayne Moore and Randy Motts, each very much appreciated for their service and commitment to the camp. It's important for you to know that part of our Constitution change has implemented a term limit for board members. Term is 4 years. You can serve up to 3 consecutive terms, but then you automatically are taken off the board. And so with that, we're going to see more transition and change in the future. Please be mindful of that as we continue to seek for and look for potential board members. During our March 7th board meeting, we had a brief conversation about the COVID-19 concern. Obviously, in early March, things were just really beginning to happen. And so we felt that while we would monitor the situation, it would not impede the 2020 encampment. But as the weeks went on and it became more and more reality with isolation and other efforts were put into place, we began to recognize that we would have to take a hard look at whether or not we could even hold the camp. So we began that earnest attempt with a number of phone meetings and conversations. We consulted with persons, and it's important for you to know that the people and those who we consulted with were people who give leadership to the board or leadership to the camp, our ministry workers, those who would be engaged in doing the actual ministries during the camp. We had talked with other camps, and we followed and looked at all the guidelines that were coming out from federal and state and even local health departments and so on, to try to just be the best informed we could. The board had committed to pray and fast on Wednesdays, and through all our discernment, it was painfully decided to cancel the camp for 2020. While we will not be gathering on site for camp, we are pleased to use this format as online camp. So we invite you to join us and participate in preaching and teaching and training provided by a ministry team. Camp would this year have been July 16th to the 26th. So I'll be checking in at the camp website, Facebook, for information about when there will be opportunities for you to check in and watch the online version of the 2020 Hollow Rock Camp. We also want you to be mindful that while the camp meeting is canceled, the camp is open for you to stop by. Maybe you just want to stop and breathe the air, walk the grounds, and take some time at that sacred place. And if you're a cottage owner and wish to come and work on your cottage, or you're anyone who wants to come and volunteer and do some work around the camp, you're invited to do so. We only ask that you check in ahead of time by either phoning at 740-544-5015, our camp caretaker, Philip Todd, or you can email him at philipdouglastodd, that's Todd with 2 D's, at gmail.com. And If you need to stay at the camp, make sure you've conveyed that as well to Philip. And the only reasons to stay at the camp would be to work on your cottage or to do volunteer work around the camp. I want to close with just a couple of final thoughts, and one of those has to do with our what I like to call Hollow Rock 365, our ministry to the camp 365 days a year through our mission support. Hollow Rock has been a place where people have been raised up and called to missions, and also a place where we have sought to lift up missions. So please be mindful that our budget for mission support, our commitments are at $40,000 plus each year. And during our camp, we typically, through the proceeds of the bookstore and the tapes and flowers and laundry, will take in approximately $10,000. This year, without camp, those funds will not be received, and we are very much committed to supporting missionaries, but our support will be hampered if we do not help fill that void. And so please pay your missionary units, but also consider a special offering to missions to help cover our costs and expenses related to our support of missionaries who are serving Hollow Rock 365 days a year as part of our outreach team of missions in the world. I would like you to be introduced to our new caretaker, Philip Todd, his wife Maura, and their son Warren. They occupied the caretaker house and position back in the late spring, and we're just so appreciative of how God has raised them up to be part of our Hollow Rock family.
Hi everybody, we're the Todds. My name is Philip, this is my wife Maura, and my son Warren. We're the new caretakers here at Hollow Rock. Our family has deep roots within the camp, and we're really excited to serve in this capacity. And while we're sad we won't get to see you this year, we look forward to many years to come. Should you stop by to visit or do some work on your cottage, remember to sign in and introduce yourself, and we look forward to seeing you.
So please hold Hollow Rock Camp in your prayers and for this upcoming online version and for the ongoing mission of the camp. We look so forward to engaging and spending some time together over those weeks. God bless you.